Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. Coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios with locations across the great state of Florida and right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out, International Diamond Center. Also, Comfort Temp Heating and Air is your #1 local HVAC company. Visit them at comforttemp.com. We got JC today. He's back from World Travels, and we'll have Mike Morgan. I believe he's in Oxford. He'll be joining us from Oxford, Mississippi. I think he's got the SEC network. Ole Miss is playing, I think, Alcorn State. I can't even believe that game's on TV, but it is. A lot of great NFL football playoffs in college kickoff Wednesday and Thursday. And JC's going to tell us who we need to take. JC, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp.
Yes. Good morning. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Man, what a weekend we've had. What a week we've had. And what a season we've had in the NFL. You got these playoff games that are going to really get good here in the next couple of days with Ohio State and Miami kicking off day after tomorrow, New Year's Eve. And then the three quarterfinal games on Thursday, New Year's Day. You had 10 bowl games on Saturday, QB, 10. The two that really were tremendous was LSU and Houston, where Connor Wegman looked like a Heisman Trophy winner. LSU still can't stop anyone. Lane Kiffin watched for 2 quarters and then left. And then we had another game. I thought the Army game was amazing because of how hard they played and how good they played. And what a day for the Army in their bowl game up at Fenway Park. And then there was another game, BYU, the BYU game. I thought the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Those two teams played their hearts out. You could tell how badly Georgia Tech and BYU wanted to win that game. I thought it was a good look for what has been criticized as a colossal waste of time, being the bowl games. It wasn't a waste of time at all for these teams, and that's what college football should be about. It should not be about transferring 4 times, waiting for a check, getting paid to play. And not participating with your team, or being a team and saying, screw the bowl game. We didn't get the playoffs, so we're better than everyone else anyway, so we're just not going to play and let's let everyone go home. That's not what college football is about. So we saw an example of what it was about, and then, of course, we already know what it's not about or what it shouldn't be about with some of the examples set forth by places like Notre Dame and players like this guy or that guy. And I just think that you have such a separation between those who want to do it and those who are trying to get paid to do it and not really care about anything else. And so I just think, you can make your own judgments and assertions of what you like to watch or what you don't like to watch or what you care to follow or what you don't care to follow. But some of these bowl games have been meaningful for some of these teams. I thought the NFL yesterday was another example of why this season has been so amazing and so interesting. And the teams that we are seeing right now that have a chance to do something special this year, like the Chicago Bears, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 49ers, who had a horrible year last year and who've come back now to potentially be the #1 seed in the NFC. So many teams that we don't talk about. The Patriots, what they've done is just an example of how the league is so balanced in most cases. Not in all, but in most. The Jets will always be the Jets. They stink. The Giants, same thing. They can't get out of their own way. But, man, it's been fun to watch some of these NFL games with some of these new teams that are in the mix. Carolina and Tampa playing for a division, which is kind of funny, thinking that Tampa has a chance to even be there with the way they play.
JC, neither one of those teams should be in the playoffs.
I know, but Carolina's going to be in there or Tampa.
Okay, well, I'm just talking about how people complain about the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I know.
In Carolina. And actually, yeah, the Falcons are out of it. So it's either the winner that's going to go.
That's right.
But they're both bad football teams. The Detroit Lions would beat both of them, in my opinion.
Most likely. But listen, I mean, Carolina's won 8 games. I don't think they won more than, 4 or 5 last year. And look at the Patriots, and then look at the Jaguars. I think they had 5 wins last year. Liam Cohen comes in here. He's won 12 now. They're 12-4. They easily could be 13-3, giving away a game in Houston in that colossal collapse in the fourth quarter with Davis Mills playing for Houston and Jacksonville just giving the game away. But they're 12-4, and they could be the 3 seed and maybe even as high as the 2 seed if certain things work out next week, which I doubt will happen. I think both Denver and New England will win next week because of who they're playing. But Jacksonville could easily become the 3rd seed with a win over lowly Tennessee and end up playing most likely Buffalo or maybe even the Houston Texans or the Chargers in their playoff game. So that game in Jacksonville, you have turned the season around, and you've become a real entity and a real threat with the way they play offense, the way they throw the ball. The pass that Lawrence made yesterday in the fourth quarter to Jacoby Myers on a 3rd and 11, got him 10 yards, setting up for a 4th and 1 to close out the game. And the catch that Myers made and the acquisition that he's become for Jacksonville has just been emblematic of how good things have gone for the Jags for the most part this year, winning 12 games. And I don't think any coach has done that, gone from 5 to 12 since 1970 in their first year. And that's who Liam Cohen has become for the Jaguars. So it's just been a tremendous year. And I'll tell you, I can't wait for that playoff game. The tickets are outrageously priced and very expensive, but it's a playoff game and you pay it and you go. And so that's what is going to happen, hopefully, if they can beat the Tennessee Titans. And that's all they have to do is win a home game against Tennessee next week, and they're the 3 seed to get a home game, minimum.
Mike asked here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, what do we think about Michigan hiring Kyle Whittingham?
I mean, listen, anything's an improvement over what they had, Sharon Moore, right? And so this guy's a Hall of Fame type coach.
Did Utah? I thought was he retiring? Did they force him out? What was the situation?
No, I don't know if he was retiring. I don't think they would ever force him out. He's the father of Utah football, but he is 66, and they signed him to a 5-year deal. So they expect him to act like he's 46, and I'm sure he will. I mean, he's in great shape physically. He looks very smart. He looks like he's got his act together, and he makes Utah a perennial threat year in and year out in that part of the country. And so I think Michigan did as well as they could, given the circumstances with Sharon Moore, who basically just gave his life away, essentially, and his career and his respect and everything else around him and what he was all about, coaching under Jim Harbaugh, who we thought was, a respectable college football coach who ended up just breaking all the rules and then basically leaving. And now Sharon Moore comes in there, and he's just a slob, and he's in trouble. And so they let him go with cause, rightfully so. And now here we have Kyle Whittingham, who is, gosh, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach, QB. And I think he just looked and says, listen, this is an opportunity to win a national championship at a school that's done it before. I'm going to go up there and play the last 5 years of my career out and see how it goes and try to win something special before I hang him up. And I mean, I don't think it's a bad hire. What else were they going to do? They had very little time to maneuver in this position that they were put in by that idiot they had coaching them. And the AD is probably trying to save face as well, getting somebody with a lot of respect in the business like Kyle Whittingham.
AU Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, looks like most of the college teams are averaging about 15 transfers entering the portal. Where do all these kids think they're going to? Happy New Year. Yeah, there's a lot of kids that go in the portal and don't find a home.
That's
or
right.
They go to a lower tier school, which is fine if they want to play. But anyway, Joseph says on Facebook Live, Whittingham hinted at people around Utah that he worn out his welcome, that he wasn't done coaching. So, yeah, I think a huge upgrade for the Michigan Wolverines, no doubt about it.
I got to think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Electronics World integration and design specialist for smart home automation and entertainment. Let Electronics World bring the Florida Gators basketball and the NFL to your living room at electronicsworld.com. All right, couple of texts here. This is a text from Frank in Chicago. He says, the Bears had a lineman lining up in the neutral zone penalty again. I see this over and over in college and the pros. Why can't someone stand on the line of scrimmage on the sideline and yell they're lined up on the wrong side, for crying out loud? So frustrating. I have asked this before. No one answered that question. They do have somebody that stands there and does it, but a lot of times during the game, you can't hear it.
Yeah. One of the things that really is a pet peeve of mine, QB, is where the side judge stands. He stands at the line of scrimmage. There should be a person at the stick or in between the 5 yards to 10 yards to mark the ball in the right place. Doesn't it seem weird that the guy who marks the ball has to run, anywhere between 1 and 10 yards and then take a right or left turn to mark the ball? That's just the thing that kind of bothers me about the way balls are spotted, where they're placed, and on close situational downs. It's just a weird way to do it. If there was an official at the stick, I think you'd get a much more accurate place to mark the ball. But having said that, I think that I think the rules, the way they are right now, keep the game moving. When you run out of bounds, going forward, stops the clock, then the clock starts up again. Incomplete passes, the clock stops, and then inside a certain time period, the clock stops on an out of bounds play. But these games are just going down to the wire in the NFL for the most part. There's been a lot of bad games, but many of these games literally come down to the last possession.
Have I ever told you the stat that I'll never forget? My rookie year sitting at training camp, when the coaches get up there and welcome you to training camp and they give you all that nonsense coach speak. And I'll never forget. This was, and I'm sure it's still the same way, but this would have been in 93, my rookie year. 78% of the games in the National Football League are decided by 3 points or less.
Golly. So crazy.
Yeah.
And then, I would never have known that. And that is a high number. And I wouldn't have expected that's 3 out of 4 games. And last night, the Bears had a chance to once again pull it out in the last possession, like they've done so many times this season, and create them and keep the magic going for that top seed. But in all likelihood, Chicago could still be a 2 or a 3 seed in the NFC. It's been a remarkable turnaround under Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams is back to being Caleb Williams because he's got the right coach. He understands. He's got the players around him. He's such a better player than he was last year when he had no coaching, 0. And now he's got a great play caller. I think you see now why Brock Purdy was the most underpaid player in NFL history before this year, and why the Niners gave him the Bay Area, to be their quarterback. What, 5 touchdowns he accounted for yesterday? Drake freaking May of New England, first quarterback in NFL history to complete 90% of his passes for 250 or more yards and throw for 5 touchdowns in a single game. And he left the game in the third quarter.
Yeah.
This guy is as accurate and as amazing as you'll ever see a second, or what is he in? It's the second year now?
Second year. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And again, we have a different coach in there with a different staff that's made all the difference. Out goes Gerard Mayo or whatever his name, and in comes Mike Vrabel with real coaches. Out goes whatever Chicago had, and in comes Ben Johnson with real coaches. And look at what it's done to these quarterbacks. Out goes Doug Peterson, who I thought was pretty damn good, won a Super Bowl, but in comes a guy that can speak the language that Trevor needed to hear, or something has happened, because he's become a really solid guy down back there behind center for the Jacksonville Jaguars. First coach, I think, in 50 some odd years to take a team from 5 wins to 12 in his first year. He's the coach of the year right now. He has to be. Actually, I think he's the only first-year head coach in NFL history to win 12 or more games after taking over a team that had 4 or fewer wins in the prior season. So the first coach ever to do that. And so we're seeing so many cool records being set and so many new precedents being set by all these new players and coaches that I think the NFL has really upgraded itself. And when you got teams like the Bears and the Patriots and the Jags, who were just horrible football teams last year, all now competing for the top spots and the top 3 seeds in the playoffs in the respective conferences, you've got something really going on that's special. And I think it's great to see. And, of course, we had to see the Steelers score 6 yesterday against the Browns to set up that all or nothing game in the AFC for the 4th seed with Baltimore. So a lot of drama for next week as well. And that game will be the 8:00 Sunday night game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore to see who will go to the playoffs and play a home game.
Franklin on YouTube says, Shane, did you see the video about Lane taking home a grocery basket from the store? You were right about coaches living in a world of their own. Yeah. Did you see that, JC?
No, I didn't. But man, this guy, tell me about that real quick.
So he was in California. I guess the family was out there for Christmas or whatever at their other house.
Okay.
And what his daughter was filming him as he came into the house carrying, one of those baskets that you get like when you just need a few things at Publix type deal. And he walks in with all the groceries in it. And she goes, Dad, what are you doing? He goes, well, they were going to charge me for a bag. So how else was I supposed to carry this stuff home? But it's true. Look,
Yeah.
I mean, coaches don't go to the store.
No, they
They
don't.
don't.
I
But
know
it's pretty bizarre. But anyway, I thought it was pretty damn funny because he had no idea.
what he was doing. Yeah, well, I thought it was what. So he went to the game when LSU was playing Houston in the Texas Bowl, stayed for the first half, and then left. What do you think he got out of that?
He had to go just because he's their new coach, but I'm surprised he didn't stay the whole time. I'm surprised he didn't have any LSU stuff on.
That's
You
what
know
I
what's
was.
weird is a lot of the Ole Miss coach, obviously a lot of Ole Miss coaches are going to be coaching at LSU next year. There's a
Yeah.
lot of LSU coaches that are going to be coaching at Ole Miss now. They've
That,
hired their running back coach. They hired a couple people from the front office. So they're just switching coaches basically. A lot of their staff members.
yeah.
But anyway, um, I wanted to find. Hang on, I had this other thing I wanted to read here. Well, first of all, let me get to this day in sports. It's brought to you by Castaway Hot sauce with real flavor, not just heat and vinegar. Built by Gators for Gators. Castaway Hot Sauce. It's available at Publix.
All right.
All right, JC. This
Yeah.
day in sports in 1982, American college football coach Paul Bear Bryant ends his
Oh,
career with Alabama with 323 wins.
wow. This day. What a
This
special
day.
day. Well, I tell you, they've had it, man, between him and Saban. It's for a little old school like that in the middle of nowhere in Western Alabama. Um, well, I tell you, this Thursday, this week, these playoff games are going to be really fun. Do you think that the teams that did not play or have not played since basically, well, it'll be about a month. Do you think
Yeah, it's
that?
like,
Do you think it'll affect them? Do you think
yes.
you
They
did?
all lost last year. All four teams
I know.
lost, JC.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, but these are the four highest seeded teams. I mean, I think these are the real high seeded teams. I mean, I think they finally got the seedings right after last year. Those four teams were not the four best, even though they were the four highest seeded.
I don't even remember who they were.
Well, Oregon was one of them, and they got blown out in the Rose Bowl. Then Georgia was another one. They got blown out without their quarterback in the Sugar Bowl. And then it would take me a minute or two to try to remember the other two games, but they were not winners. They all lost. I think Arizona State was one of the four highest seeds, and they lost to Texas, even though Texas was favored in the game. I believe that's right because Arizona State won the Pac, whatever their conference was, and the last team was. It's escaping me right now, but the point is that I think you have Georgia, Texas Tech, Ohio State, and the Indiana Hoosiers. Those you can make the case are the four best teams right now based on the season. Doesn't mean they're going to win though. It doesn't mean that at all. And I think you're going to see a very close game between Miami and Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State's all that special on offense. I think they're very special on defense, but not on offense. I think Indiana is going to find out what it's like to be under the spotlight for the first time in a setting against a blue blood, and that's a new thing for them. Doesn't mean they're not going to play well; they probably will. But then you have Texas Tech with what's his name, Baron Moore or Moore, whatever. Listen,
Baron
Texas
Morton.
and that defense QB is as good as you'll see in college football, and they're going to be running against a team that, quite honestly, may have some of the best wide receivers you'll ever see in your life. And that's in the Orange Bowl somehow. That they put them in the Orange Bowl instead of the Cotton Bowl. And then you've got, of course, the Georgia Bulldogs, who have been running as hot as they've ever run with a quarterback who just doesn't lose football games. He always wins. And they're going to have a game against Mississippi, who's got a axe to grind right now, and a team that was beating Georgia by almost double digits, or it was double digits going into the fourth quarter of that game in Athens. So anything's possible in that one. I'm sorry, I'm not counting Mississippi out at all in that one. No way. If Lacey gets going, if that quarterback is on, they're going to be effective against Georgia, as good as Georgia is. I don't think this is the defense with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, N'Kobe Dean. That they're good, but they're not those guys good. You know what I mean? I thought that Georgia defense was as good. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles are showing us right now just how great that defense was with three of those guys playing for them. and arguably the best defense in the NFL in Philadelphia. So, Philly, QB, tell me something. If you're Buffalo yesterday, I just got to shift gears real quick, and you're playing this game, you've held Philadelphia to 17 yards in the second half. You have a chance to kick the extra point and tie the game and win it in overtime, because you probably would, due to the fact that Philadelphia couldn't get a first down with Jalen Hurts. And believe me, I've seen this before with Jalen Hurts. And they go for two, and they didn't make it. Josh had to play. The guy was open, could have executed it better, and they win the game. Sure. But don't you just kick the extra point and win in overtime there, or do you go for two? What do you think?
I knew they were going to go for two, and they called a great play. It was wide ass open, and Josh Allen makes that throw.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times. He just missed it.
He just missed it.
It was a great play call.
It was. The guy was open, and they should have won. Believe it or not. I mean, they scored 12 points in that fourth quarter. They had Philadelphia on the ropes, but that just shows you how great the Eagles defense is. That's the only reason that game.
Yeah, both of those teams are outstanding.
Buffalo is going to probably be the 3 seed if they beat the hapless and worthless New York Jets next week, which they will do. So that sends them, if Jacksonville wins, to Jacksonville. I'm pretty certain that's what's going to happen. So Josh Allen's heading up to Jackson, going to Duval, looks like, and he's playing with a rather tender ankle right now. He was definitely affected by the offensive lineman stepping on his ankle last night as he was dropping back and getting sacked. But I tell you, Buffalo is they're dangerous if he can stay healthy. But all these teams, I think, have a legit shot for doing something in each conference. I really do. I think the Houston Texans are as scary as anybody. If Stroud just plays better, Houston can beat anybody. They can beat anybody. And then if the Jaguars keep going with their wide receivers, and if ETN can run the ball effectively and Trevor doesn't turn it over, look out for them. Look out for Denver out there at West. Bo Nix, he doesn't lose football games. So it's going to be tremendous to watch. These college football playoff games will be tremendous to watch. And maybe next year the Florida Gators will be in the postseason, and we can get excited about that around here.
Gator guy on the Titan of our text line says, "What are your thoughts on Rocco Beck from Iowa State coming here to be the quarterback?" He's a good little player.
Yeah, he is.
But I think you're going to have I think we're only going to take Aaron Philo out of the portal. We'll have Philo, Tramel Jones, battle it out, is my guess.
Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at. And, you love Tramel Jones, and I think that's great. I just haven't seen enough of him. But I'll take your word for it because you're pretty good with the quarterback calls.
Well, I think Philo's pretty damn good, too. I think both of them are perfect for – obviously, Buster Faulkner knows what he has in Philo.
Yeah.
But Tramel, very fundamentally sound, throws a catchable football. Let them go coach them up and see what happens.
See what happens. The easier schedule than last 2 years, I think, will help Florida. And, man, I think it's going to get much better around here next year. No doubt.
Yeah, Reggie says on Facebook Live, Zach Albaverdi supporting we were taking 2 QBs in the portal. I've heard that too. I've talked about Colton Joseph, who I like him a lot, the Old Dominion quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get him because I think he wants to be guaranteed to be a starter, or not guaranteed to be a starter, but guaranteed like starter type money.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes. So we'll see.
Did you hear anything more with Jaden Ball's situation here at Florida?
I have not. I still think we keep him.
Okay. Yeah. Hope so.
But you can't overpay for a running back. Cannot.
Well, I agree with that too, because that's yes, you're right. Lowest paid position in the pros is the running back position, I think. So, well, other than kickers, but yeah, tight ends maybe. But yeah, running backs get hurt a lot. But this guy is so durable and has been so consistent with Florida. He's just, how these players are, QBs. Some of them always get hurt. They're always an issue with them. And then others are always playing. It's funny, isn't it? But I think Ball is a guy that Florida desperately needs to stay. I really want him to stay.
Daryl on the Titan Mar text line says, "How about them Jags? My family and I have free
Right.
tickets to the Gator Bowl Eli
Right.
Drinkwitz was very conservative on offense, a boring game.
He was.
Somebody also asked me on the text line, what's the plan for the Gator Bowl moving forward with the renovation? I would assume they're going to play it here in Gainesville like they did back in the day when Florida Georgia had to go home and home. Remember, I think Peyton played Virginia Tech here in Gainesville in the Gator Bowl. So I would assume that's what they do.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's the closest stadium to Jacksonville is Gainesville. Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph says on Facebook Live, Gary Condren said that we have made a very competitive offer to Dallas Wilson, but the A&M offer is insane amount of money. Look, you can't overpay the guy. Look, he's a very good player. He's
Played one
been
game.
hurt. He's got 13 catches, I think, or 12 catches,
in 2 years.
right?
Right. I mean, he's
And if you watch college football, there are great receivers all around America.
everywhere.
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 Just so many people get so enamored with who's on their team.
Right. I mean, look at this guy, DK, in Tennessee. He's made the Pro Bowl. He played last year at Florida, had a good year, right? And look at how good he has become.
You know, he set a record, I forgot, for like all-purpose yardages for a rookie or whatever.
Yeah.
Now we'll have to look, I think he's a really good player. I thought he was a great player here last year. There's an asterisk, in my opinion, next to that, because he had a million chances to return kickoffs because the Titans couldn't stop anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
Hit a million.
But you know, as a wide receiver, he also had, you know, Cam Ward running for his life trying to get him the ball too. Yeah. I mean, listen, it just shows you what you're saying about these receivers. They're everywhere. If you just get them the ball, they can do special things. And I mean, you just gotta get them the ball. And if Dallas Wilson stays, that's great for Florida.
Yeah.
But if he wants to take, you know, a king's ransom to go play at A&M, then let him. Then there he goes. Okay, there he goes. I'm not worried about A&M. A&M lost their last 2 games, and if you ask an A&M fan whether they loved the season or not, they may say yeah for a while, but then it ended badly for them. And that game against Miami was just a horrendous showing. And so, you can go to A&M if you want, and you know, do all that crazy crap they do over there, but it doesn't mean anything in terms of winning championships. They're no different than anyone else playing in the SEC, if you ask me. They just have a lot of people go to their games and make a lot of noise. But listen, they're a good program. But I hope he stays. But if he doesn't, it's like you say, you got player. You shake a tree and a good wide receiver can fly out.
Yeah, Alan says, don't forget Will Griffin's coming. No, I know Will Griffin's coming. I'm just
Vernell.
talking. He's a true freshman. So
right. You're going to keep Vernell Brown around. That's a
yes, he's back.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. Look, if you watch Georgia, I love Georgia Tech's wide receivers that they had in that game the other night.
Yeah.
I mean, they got
absolutely.
dudes. So Buster Faulkner and them will have wideouts. Tommy says on YouTube, we have to keep ball. If we don't, we're in deep trouble. Look, as I said, he's a very good running back, but we will be fine if he is not here. You cannot overpay for a running back. You cannot. All right, JC.
Yeah,
we'll be back Wednesday with all your wonderful picks.
Yeah, we're going to get into it pretty good with some of these big games. We'll do some picks. I've had a good weekend, had a good week last week, hit some good unders. Listen, it's going to really get fun here in the next couple of days. So I'll look forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday. And then I guess we'll not do the show Thursday with the holiday.
No.
But we will be here on Wednesday, and then we'll, I guess, to be announced on Friday, I suppose.
All right, JC, we'll talk to you then. That's JC.
Okay.
Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. When we come back, we'll be joined by the SEC Network's Mike Morgan. We'll get his thoughts on the college football playoffs, also college hoops. He'll be calling the game tonight. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews and Warner from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Coach, you know what always impressed me, how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football. Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Williston Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Back to the Titan Moore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Our man from the SEC Network will be on the call of the Ole Miss game tonight, Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Shane, I'm doing good. Always nice to be here at the Graduate Hotel. I think this is the original Graduate. They're now like in every SEC town,
except Gainesville.
Just about, except Gainesville. We'll see if we can. You and I can invest in one in Gainesville, because I mean, how awesome would that be? For those that don't know, like this concept, which I believe Cooper Manning is a big investor. It started here. Now it's in, Athens and Knoxville and Auburn, everywhere. You go in, and every room and like every milk and cranny of the hotels has memorabilia of that particular school. Like your hotel key is not a regular card. It's got a student ID of a famous athlete there. So imagine like you go to a Graduate in Gainesville, you get your ID card, and it's like Emmitt Smith on it. That's your hotel key. And then you walk in there, and there's a picture of Shane Matthews celebrating the school's first ever SEC championship in 1991. And then you go into the bathroom, and there's like a portrait of Wilbur Marshall overlooking you as you're doing your business. I mean, it's a great concept. Whoever thought of it, I'm jealous. Like I wish I would have came up with this idea, but hopefully Gainesville will get one soon.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's start. Well, let's start with this text regarding college basketball that I got from Monty on the Titan of our text line. He wants us, can you explain what's going on with the discussion of NBA players with eligibility coming back to play college basketball?
Yeah, this is insane. You know how it is. Every coach in America is always trying to find a loophole. This never would have passed the smells test 5 years ago. But now there are no rules. We tamper, we pay whatever. Everybody's a free agent, and apparently now we're allowing pros who have already received money playing basketball, either overseas or in the G League. You know, those G League players, they don't make much, but they do make money. Apparently, if you were drafted by an NBA team but didn't play in the NBA, you can then make yourself eligible again for college basketball. And unless I'm misunderstanding this, you could literally start playing second semester in January. So, like, Baylor picked up a big-time kid. There's another one out there that everybody's fighting for. If you played overseas or if you played in the G League, you can go ahead and somehow be eligible as long as you didn't play in the NBA. And there's a lot of kids that, you know, get drafted now. The NBA draft almost is like the amateur draft in baseball, where a lot of times you'll draft a kid purely on upside. You know he's not ready, but you have this thing called the G League, which is like the AAA. It's really more like AA. It's garbage basketball. Everybody's just trying to get their numbers. But you play in the minor league, and as long as you didn't make it to the big time and play in the NBA, then you all of a sudden could say, you know what? I'm making 60 grand a year playing in the G League. I could make 7 figures playing in college basketball. I'll go ahead and do that as a 20 whatever year old and be eligible right away. It's insanity, but that's what we're doing right now in college basketball.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's just college athletics is a mess. All right, let's get to college playoffs. They kick off Wednesday night. I want to get your thoughts on all 4 games. Wednesday, New Year's Eve, Ohio State, Miami. Your thoughts, Mike?
I was thinking about this, Shane. So I've seen every one of these teams, with the exception of 2 in person, just calling games on Elite Media this year. We didn't do an Indiana game, but I've certainly seen plenty of them the last 2 years under Signetti. And we didn't do an Ohio State game, which may be the most talented team in college football. I think Ohio State Miami is a really good game that is almost not getting enough attention because the last time I checked, Ohio State was, I don't know, like a 9.5-point favorite. And everybody just assumes that they're the best team in college football and maybe this shouldn't be as close. If Miami shows up, I'll tell you this right now. I didn't see teams more talented in college football this year. And again, I saw Oregon, I saw Texas Tech, I saw Georgia, I saw Ole Miss. I didn't see 2 teams more talented than Ohio State and Miami. Miami's loaded. They're just loaded. Now, Carson Beck can be unreliable. When he's on, he's very good. When he's off, he'll throw that game or 2 at you where he's miserable. But they don't need him to win. Just hand the ball to Fletcher and run it down the throat. What they did against Texas A&M, it's going to be harder to do that against Ohio State. I recognize that. But you've got NFL talent all over the line of scrimmage on both sides for Miami. If they were a more consistent bunch, I think more people would be calling for a Miami win, or at least for this thing to come down to the wire. But I think that game is uber attractive. What I love about this whole playoff is there's not a bad game in the bunch. I mean, we've gotten to the point now, we got the clunkers out of the way. This is what the college football playoff is all about. These 4 matchups is just like, it's heaven if you're a college football fan. It's so much better than what we used to have. I can't wait for it. But, yeah, I mean, that first game on New Year's Eve, Miami, Ohio State, I think has a chance to be an outstanding game.
Yeah. So give me your pick on that game.
Well, I'll take Ohio. Counter to what I just said, I'll take Ohio State in a close game.
Yeah.
I'll take Ohio State in a closer game from the standpoint of I think they're a little more consistent than Miami, and I do worry if it's a clutch game, fourth quarter, if it's 3rd down and 7, does Carson Beck make a fatal mistake? And that's the one glitch on him, as he has not always showed up big in big time moments. And meanwhile, Ohio State's got a kid that had never played the game at this level before and is one of the most remarkably accurate quarterbacks that we've seen. So from that standpoint, I think the safe pick is Ohio State.
The early game, the noon game on January 1st at the Orange Bowl, the Oregon Ducks and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I'm telling you right now, man, I absolutely love the Texas Tech team.
I do too. Now, look, I'm a big Dante Moore guy. When we were there in Eugene way back when in September, and I can't look at quarterbacks the way you can, Shane, and immediately kind of make a snapshot decision. He's got it. But when I saw him and I just watched the motion of his throws and how cool and calm he is in the pocket and the ability to roll out and make plays, I was like, that to me looks like a first-round talent. He's really good. I mean, the biggest knock you could say on Oregon is they didn't face the competition of some of these other teams. They had an easier path in the Big Ten than some of these other schools, but they still have a lot of talent. And to me, he's the real deal. But I also, like you, I'm enamored with Texas Tech. I love that defensive line. The Bailey kid coming off the edge can cause a lot of problems. I said on your show after going there to Lubbock to do the BYU game this year, just talking to people down there, $7 million for that defensive line. We all can spend $7 million on something, but there is a skill on spending it on the right players. They spent it on the right players. They don't have many misses. Give old Cody Campbell credit. They didn't just throw good money after bad. They had a plan. They had a very good general manager, for lack of a better term, although I'm not sure there is a better term, quite frankly, in college football right now. And they picked the right guys. They don't have a weakness. Now, is their offense explosive? No, it's not. But it's good enough, combined with that defense, and they're very well coached. I think they could pull this off. I also like Texas Tech.
Yeah, I like the Red Raiders. I like their quarterback, former Gator Caleb Douglas is their leading receiver. They were better, I would say, on offense last year with their team, but as you said, they threw their money on defense, and they are outstanding. The Rose Bowl, so we can get, they got to kick off around 4 o'clock so we can get the sunset there in California. Indiana, Alabama. Your thoughts on this game?
Again, another fascinating game because it's like, okay, the team that has proven Indiana earned that number 1 seed. They did everything they could to earn it, right? And yet there's just something about Alabama. I know it's the brand name and everything else, but there's something really tempting here about taking Alabama in the upset. And I wouldn't argue it. There's just something to me. Look, I voted Mendoza for the Heisman. I'm not. Indiana's not a fraud. He's not a fraud. Very good team. Signetti's done the best coaching job in a 2-year span out of a turd of a program that I've seen in 50 years. He's just freaking phenomenal. But if Ty Simpson, and he's been hot and cold, but if he plays the way he's capable of, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Alabama pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Tide myself. Then the nightcap in New Orleans, the rematch, Ole Miss, Georgia. Boy, Bourbon Street's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I know some Ole Miss pretty prominent donors, and they're making the trip. They're driving from Mississippi to New Orleans for that, and one of them mentioned a key stat for me on Ole Miss this year. Think about this, Shane. We talked about how the premier quarterbacks, the so-called premier quarterbacks last year in the SEC did not fare well. And it was the Chamblises of the world, the Gunnar Stocktons of the world. I mean, we can go down the list that really shined. DJ Lagway, Lenora Sellers, just to pick two out of the bunch, because those were two of the most heavily hyped. A lot of people thought they'd be Heisman Trophy candidates, all SEC. They both made, about $3 million each, give or take. You'll know the exact number better than I will on Lagway. The Ole Miss guy was telling me, we got their running back, Kewan Lacey, who's a stud. They got him from Missouri. They got Trinidad Chambliss from Ferris State. Combined, those guys made less than $1 million. So that would be they got Kewan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss for a third of what you had to pay DJ Lagway or Lenora Sellers, who both finished near the bottom of the SEC in passing. Think about that for a moment. So this goes back to what I said. It's not just having a bunch of money. It's where you and how you spend the money. And say what you want about Lane Kiffin. Lane and his staff, they became a portal program because you can't recruit at Ole Miss the way you can at LSU or some of these other heavyweights. And they picked the right guys. They found the right guys in the portal that would shine in their system on both sides of the ball. And that's what they've done. Look, I'm not going to pick against Georgia. I can't. The culture of Kirby in these type of games, it's not just the fact that they already won the regular season matchup, which was a great game. It's just when these matchups happen, unless the other team is more talented than Georgia, and I don't think that's the case here, I will pick Georgia. But a hell of a story this year in Oxford. Yeah,
and you're talking about spending money. I've had a lot of texts still coming in about Dallas Wilson. We need to keep him. If he gets away, we got to sign 2 or 3 receivers to make up for it. See, I disagree with that. Look at Ole Miss's team. You can't name our listeners probably can't name any of their wideouts, and they got damn good wideouts there.
Right. So and they always seem to be running wide open too, don't they, Shane?
Yes. Yeah. So Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, it's crazy 2 Western teams in Oregon and Texas Tech have to play in Miami. Wonder what the fan will be for that.
Well, I don't know about Oregon, but I guarantee you Texas Tech the Red Raider Nation will travel very well. They will be there in bunches. I don't doubt that. Oregon, West Coast, it's a little bit different out there. I'd like to think they would show up in droves, but I'm not sure. But I promise you this much: Texas Tech will get as many tickets as you will allot them for that game.
Very, very true. Here's a text from Rick on the Titan of our text line. Can you explain some of the new staff hires in which they hired the O-line coach from Georgia Tech to coach tight ends and the Georgia Tech wide receiver coach to coach inside wide receivers? Does this mean one is coaching blocking tight ends and the other receiving tight ends? Only ask because I have never heard of an inside wide receiver coach. All right, so I'll make this very simple. You can only have 10 coaches listed in your program. Okay, those 10 coaches have already been hired. All right. I don't want to call them analysts because they're going to coach, because analysts can coach now. But basically, the air raid system has always had a coach the inside receivers. Buster Faulkner is an air raid guy. What you've seen at Georgia Tech the last couple of years is not his normal offense. It's what he adjusted to Haynes King's skill set, because Haynes is a tough runner. So the O-line coach that was at Georgia Tech is going to coach tight ends, because O-line coaches can coach tight ends because it's part of the line of scrimmage. Phil Troutwine is your official offensive line coach. So I don't know if I explained that very well. Mike, you got anything you want to chime in on that?
No, other than as we've talked about, I think it's a great hire, number one. It's not just what Buster did at Georgia Tech. And you mentioned that, he did what great coaches do. He adjusted his scheme to the personnel. But look what he did with Stetson Bennett at Georgia as the quarterback's coach. I mean, you don't have to tell Georgia fans what Buster Faulkner meant to those back-to-back national championship teams. And then the other thing I would just say, not that any Florida fan will care, Florida has crippled Georgia Tech. I mean, you're taking their quarterback of the future, their OC, assistant coaches. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be the same. You know, they finished 1-4. They had their moment in the sun, and then they unfortunately for them, they faded in every close game down the stretch, including that bowl game, which was a very entertaining bowl game, I might add. One of the few that is not involved in the playoff. But I don't think Georgia Tech is going to be the same. And I think Florida got some really good coaches in all those hires.
Agree. All right, Mike, time goes by way too fast. Let's talk hoops real quick. You're on a call tonight in Oxford. And then kind of tell us like your next week or so schedule of calling hoop games.
Yeah, it's about to get real. Once the calendar turns to January, it's conference play. Thank goodness. I mean, I love some of these games and you know, some of these matchups to kind of see. I think I've seen now 8 SEC teams in person to kind of get an idea of everybody's roster and where everybody ranks. But it's about to get real with SEC play. I'll do 2 or 3 games a week, 2 SEC games for ESPN and or SEC Network, and then also doing Elite Media Network's game of the week. So I'll be in the next 2 weeks, SEC opening week. I've got I'll be at Texas A&M, Buckyball. That's one of those new coaches, Shane. I don't know, you run and gun, man. He's a lot of fun. His style of play is a lot of fun to watch. I'm not sure exactly if he's got the personnel for A&M to do massive things in year one, but who knows? Nobody thought the cat at Vanderbilt, Coach Byington, would do what he did in year one and what he's doing now in year two, which is nothing short of amazing. What Vanderbilt's doing, that's one of the best stories going in all of college basketball. And another good story is LSU. Coach McMahon clearly has his best team. So it'll be LSU at Texas A&M that I'll have on Saturday, January the 3rd. That'll actually be on ESPNU. And from there, I go to Auburn, and then back here at Ole Miss, and then to Kansas for Iowa State at Kansas. That'll be on Elite Media Network. And then back to Auburn, and then to Arkansas, which Cal's got it going. He's got a squad over there in Fayetteville. Certainly has 2 of the best freshmen in all of the ACC, Acuff being one of them. So we're about to start seeing what everybody's really made of, Shane. I mean, if you circle back to Florida and you look at the record, and some people would say, well, that's not a good start, but their schedule was brutal. And I think that's how you get better. Like, I think that's how you prepare yourself for conference play. So I applaud Todd Golden and the staff for scheduling like that. They'll be tested very early as well and kind of figure out what they're all about. I know on January 6th, they host a Georgia team that I just talked about under Mike White. That's been a great story. They're playing a completely different brand of basketball, and they open up at Missouri. I had Missouri a couple weeks ago. Kind of hard to figure out what Missouri is right now. They didn't pick up really a quality win in the non-con, so that's going to be a kind of a statement on them. Are they for real this year or not? And Florida with a tough road game. It's always tough to play in coast, so I'm excited about the fact we're finally getting into the nitty-gritty of the season here, Shane.
Yeah. Real quick, David on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plum says, how is Buster Faulkner running the air raid? He didn't work with Leach, Cumbie, Harrell, or Kingsbury. Where did he get his understanding? He played for Leach and those guys at Valdosta State. I want to say, was it Hal Mum? He played at Valdosta State in the air raid. And he's an air raid guy. Now he's tweaked a little bit of the stuff that he as the offensive coordinator, but I think you're going to see us spread it out, and we're going to do a lot of stuff. The guy knows what he's doing. But if you go back, he played at Valdosta State, and I want to say either Hal Mummy, Leach, or something. He's been with those guys somewhere. I could be wrong.
Well, and those are the guys that started it, right? Like
Yes.
Mummy's like the OG, and then Leach, and that whole tree, Bryles. It'll be interesting to see what Kendall Bryles does as the son of Art Bryles. What he does at South Carolina, does that resemble? People hear air raid and they think 5 wide, pass every down. Nobody's doing that. It's not in the SEC. I don't think Buster's doing that at Florida. I don't think Bryles is doing that at South Carolina. But you're going to see versions of it, and you're going to see, from what I always think of when I think of air raid, Shane, and when those offenses are really humming, it's a lot of horizontal stuff. You're using that 52.5 or whatever it is yards wide on the football field. A lot of quick hitters and even simple screens that kind of act as runs, but you're using the whole width of the field. It's not just attacking vertically. So I think you'll see a lot of those concepts, but all these guys, they take something like what they were taught and some of the background in air raid or what have you, but then they make it their own. They come up with their own. Same thing with Lane Kiffin. I mean, they all, over time, you don't just use one thing with one set of plays and that's it. I mean, Mike Leach made a living. He was running an offense that basically had a limited number of plays, and they kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and you couldn't stop it. I don't think that's what you're looking at Florida next year. I think it's going to be a little more diverse, let's just say, than that.
Yeah. And again, I don't remember who his coaches were, but he played at Valdosta State. So that's what they did back when he played there. And that's why he's very familiar with it. So, Mike, good stuff as always. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
Yeah. Happy New Year to you and all the great listeners of your show. Look forward to chopping it up throughout 2026.
Absolutely. That's Mike Morgan. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. For sprains, strains, and minor fractures, UF Health Orthocare makes it convenient for you 7 days a week, including evenings. Walk-ins are welcome. That is UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.